There has been two recent incidents involving minors who were sexually abused by adults. There was the child in southern Belize who alleges that she was molested by her stepfather, and then there was the 13-year-old girl who was raped by four men. These are only two of several reported and unreported cases where children are being abused. While we understand that the police are conducting their investigations into these two incidents, we spoke with Ivan Yarovi of the United Nations Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, to get their response on the cases where children are being violated.
I've heard some voices against these two cases that you referred, but I wish to have, like 100,000 voices against these cases. 200,000 voices, 350,000 voices against these cases. We have some voices saying this is totally unacceptable, zero tolerance to this case. It doesn't matter if it is 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 or 15 years old, given consent, is raped. At the end of the day, is a case that needs to go to the courts, and whoever committed a crime should go to jail. No more impunity. No more impunity. I mean, if someone that sexually abused a girl, walks away without happening anything to him, what is the message that we're sending? Go ahead, do it again. Nothing's going to happen to you. You can do it again. You can be the uncle, the stepfather, the grandfather, a friend, a cousin. Nothing's going to happen to you. So the only way to send a strong, a straightforward message is, if you are going to commit a crime, if you are going to sexually abuse a girl or boy, there's a rule of law that is going to, go against you, and most probably you are going to jail because of that, because it is a crime. It is a crime. I mean, don't give me, that I've seen some posts saying that that this 13-year-old girl say yes. So because she said yes, that was her fault. No way. Or I heard someone saying, because, they dress mini skirts and shorts, so they are exposing themselves, so they are guilty. They are, sexual abuse because, the way they dress. What? That's totally crazy. It shouldn't be seeing these things like that. So how can we change the mentality? How can we change the country, in those issues that are affecting children? We need to work on a daily basis. There's no other way. And we have to put, PSA on the news, and we have to do events, and we have to advocate for these issues, etc., until we have, people recognizing that these are not normal cases from one side, and on the other side, having a system to respond to these cases.
According to UNICEF's country representative Ivan Yarovi, while they do not deal directly with cases of child abuse, they are working with the various agencies that cater for children, ensuring that the rights of children are being respected and protected in various forms.
UNICEF is always trying to make sure there is a system in place. We don't deal with the specific cases, but we want to make sure there is a system to respond to any case. Having said that, we are currently working, for instance, with Chief Justice in the Supreme Court, because we want to make sure the Supreme Court and the entire judiciary will respect children's rights, treat them the way they deserve to be treated, and also the possibility of having what we like to call the child-friendly courts. So for us is working with the national institutions to deal with not only those two cases that you mentioned, with all the cases. So if we manage to provide support and somehow make sure that there is a system in place, those two cases that you mentioned, along with 434 more cases, because if I look at the statistics since since January until October 2015, we had 436 reported cases of sexual abuse in Belize. That's more than one girl/boy being raped in this country. More than one per day. So there must be a system in place. There must be an institution and capacity to respond to any of those cases.
Urove went on to speak on changing the mindset of persons in the country who deem the corporal punishment of children and the abuse of children are in the norm of society.
Unfortunately, people think that, it's kind of normal, the use of violent discipline. Children, and this is a survey we conducted last year, 70% of children being interviewed, they say that it's normal to be punished. It's normal to be punished because that's the only way to make them be good citizens in the future. So the children also agreed on being, being disciplined by using, corporate punishment or that kind of measures. So can you imagine the challenge we have ahead of us? Because if we are dealing with these beliefs, it's huge. The work that we all need to do in order to change the mentality is huge. Because this is, sexual abuse, violent discipline, verbal abuse, those are not normal situations. In a society, those are not normal kind of things. So we have to, first of all, work with the entire country to change the mentality. Say, no, these are not normal ways of dealing with issues. Because violence cannot be the way we solve our disputes. Violence cannot be the way. It cannot be the way. So changing the mentality and making sure people start discussing these issues, having these issues on the table to be discussed at the household level, at community level, in the cities, in the towns, etc., at the school, just to bring this topic into the discussion. That's one important thing that we need to do.
Incidentally, a release came out of the National Committee for Families and Children, NCFC, in relation to the recent incidents of abuse against two girls. The release made reference to the fact that Belize was the 5th signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which has since been ratified and evolved into the human rights instrument in the world. The release reads in part, quote, "One of the obligations to our children is to protect them from all forms of exploitation, abuse, and neglect. Article 19 of the CRC states that children should be protected from being hurt and mistreated in body or mind. Keeping this in mind, the recent article, Girl 13 Said Yes to 4 Men, published in the Amandla newspaper, is beyond startling and heartbreaking. According to the article, 2 of 4 men have been arrested and charged with unlawful sexual intercourse and harm after they engaged a 13-year-old girl in sex. NCFC finds this extremely troubling and is deeply concerned about the welfare of children in general, especially since the best interest of the child is key. In addition, the headline in this article breaches the professional ethics for responsible journalism and serves to re-victimize the child rather than discouraging and deterring such hideous acts. Therefore, NCFC advises all media personnel to be careful when reporting or sensitizing the general public regarding any issue involving children." End of quote. The document went on to state, quote, "On another notion, these sexual perpetrators ought to know that any young girl under the age of 16 cannot legally consent to sexual activities of any sort, that any sexual intercourse with these minors can be considered statutory rape. And CFC therefore calls on all parents to be extremely vigilant, especially since sexual acts against minors are becoming quite common. As parents, we need to be mindful that we are the first line of defense in order to ensure the safety and protection of our children, as well as provide a safe dwelling place. End of quote. As a bit of advice for parents and guardians, the UNCFC appealed in its release that families take time to listen and talk to their children about safety while making every effort to provide a safe and healthy environment for their children.